أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Mustafa Merali and I am 24 years old from London, United Kingdom. Just a bit about my background. I've studied actuarial science and I'm currently working in an insurance company. So just a little bit about my trip. This is very special for me because not only is it my first time to Iraq, but the first time happens to be during the massive occasion of Arba'een. And the way we hold our occasions in London is different here. So first of all, when Muharram starts, we usually have a series of about 10 days of majalis leading up to the day of Ashura, and then an occasion on Sham Ghariba. And then we usually have a set of lectures from the 30th to the 40th night or days after the beginning of Muharram. So we call that Ashra Zainabiyya. So this time round, I was there for the first half of Ashra Zainabiyya, came here a few days before Arba'een, and to see the difference between back home in London and over here is a massive difference. So initially, we came to Najaf airport. And the reason we did that was a few days before Arba'een was because we really wanted to take part in the walk that's being done from Najaf to Karbala. So we were told that the walk is a distance of about 90 kilometers. So even before I came on this trip, I told people back at home, whether it's my work colleagues or my family or my friends, that I'm going to be taking part in a walk that's 90 kilometers over 3 days. And when they heard this, they seemed very surprised because to walk for 3 days is something that's quite unheard of back in London. Usually you have things like a marathon or maybe 100 meters, 200 meter sprint, but there's nothing like a 3-day walk that takes place. So when they heard about this, they were very impressed. I even set up a sponsoring page for people to find out more about the trip, the reasons behind us coming to Iraq for such a spiritual pilgrimage trip. So they were all very curious, they wanted to find out more, and I'm really looking forward to going back to the UK and being able to explain to them the significance of the trip, what it really meant for me, and just the deeper meanings behind it, and the deeper meanings behind the personalities that I was going to visit. So I managed to experience the 3-day walk from Najaf to Karbala, which was one of the most amazing experiences that I've had in my life. It's very unusual and very different to the kind of life you live back at home, because over here, you would start walking at maybe midnight or 3 a.m. And the reason for that is you want to avoid the rush in the early hours of the day. Because once it gets to daytime, you see a lot of foot traffic because there's millions of people all walking in the same direction from Najaf to Karbala. So you'd start early in the morning, and during the walk you'd see many amazing things. So every less than 100 meters or so, there'd be people serving you food, serving you water, offering you foot massages. You tell people this back in London and they won't even believe what you're saying, that people can give you free stuff, they can offer to do you things such as foot massages. And if you ask them, how much does this cost or what do you want in return for it, they would probably laugh at you because they're not just offering you food and water, they're begging you to take it. I in fact saw people sitting on the floor offering to shine your shoes for you, because for them that's something very holy, that they're getting the chance to serve the Zyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So you see many amazing things on the walk. Aside from people serving, you'll see the many people who are walking alongside you. You'll see people who are disabled walking in their crutches. You'll see people without their shoes and socks on walking in the same direction. And while we're feeling the hurt with our socks and shoes and our blisters and everything, one thought comes across your mind is that how can people in such a condition do the walk? And that really makes you think that we shouldn't be complaining about how we are feeling, because for them, the pain must be a lot more, but there must be something different in their hearts, something that makes them do it without the thought of complaining or without the thought of making it as comfortable as possible. They want to feel a slight glimpse of the pain that the Ahlul Bayt had to endure in 61 AH. So that was the walk. And what you realize from that is that it's not really about the level of fitness that you have or how much you've prepared in advance of the trip. When you see kids as young as, I saw kids probably as young as 1 doing the walk. I saw people that were very elderly doing the walk, people that are disabled. You realize that it's more about the feeling that you have in the heart and the iman that you have that makes you go through it, rather than the amount that you've prepared or your fitness level. So that was the walk. You go through some tiring days, you go through some long nights, you sleep in the mokibs where it's freezing nights. You'll be lucky to get a space in the mokib, you'll be lucky to get a blanket, very rough nights and very cold days. We were extremely lucky that we didn't get rain during the 3 days, although I've been hearing that it was raining a couple of weeks ago. So we're very lucky with that, alhamdulillah. And the feeling is amazing that after those 2 or 3 days that you've been walking, you finally catch a glimpse of the shrine. And just coming back to the story that the man told me in the Turkey airport, he said that when you're in Najaf, you'll have a feeling of strength, of power. You're in the presence of Imam Ali. And then he said that when you come to Karbala, that feeling completely changes, because from what you had with that strength, that feeling of strength and power, you come to Karbala and you just completely melt and your heart drops and you can't help but just cry, because as soon as you see that dome of Imam al-Hussein, all that will come to your mind is the thoughts of what happened and what he had to go through. So that's something that I completely resonated with when I was finishing the walk. You come around that final bend and you see the dome of Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam, and you can see Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and you realize that you are in the vicinity of these holy personalities who gave all that they had, not just money or time or anything. They gave their actual lives, which is the most that somebody can give, the ultimate sacrifice. So when you're in their presence and you know that they are watching you and you are watching them, you can't help but try to share in their sorrow, and you remember what happened such a long time ago. So that's how the walk was. When you get into Karbala, as you're probably aware, there are many checkpoints here. There's a lot of security going on. And again, this is for our benefit, for the Zawar who are coming to Imam al-Hussein. Security people are doing all that they can to make sure that we are kept safe and there's no intruders coming into the area. There's many checkpoints. Just to go from your hotel to the shrine, which is probably about 5-10 minutes away, you'd have to go through at least a few checkpoints, maybe 3 or 4. And as you get closer to the shrine, people checking you again. As you get closer, people checking you again. So that's one thing that I would have to say, is that security is very tight here, especially when you get to busy times such as Arba'een. You can feel completely safe because there's people checking you, people checking people around you. I don't think there's anything to fear about for people that are listening or people that are watching. I definitely recommend this trip. It's really an experience that you can't really explain it in words. It's undescribable. And even if we try and do justice to the walk or to the feelings that you get when you come to the shrines, you can't do justice to it just by speaking or going back and telling stories. So definitely try and come to the holy land of Karbala at least once in your lifetime, if not more. And even when you come close to Karbala, or when you come close to the shrine, especially for that first time, we have in hadiths that tell us that when you go for the first time, don't spend such a long time in the shrine. Pay your salams, give your salams, pay your allegiance. And the reason you're told not to spend such a long time in the shrine is because that first Zyarah trip shouldn't really be about asking hajats or asking for your desires and wants, because what happened on that day was different from any other day that's going to happen in history or that's going to happen in the future. What that first time meant for me of going to the shrine was just about saying thank you to the Imam for the sacrifice that he gave for the religion, for humanity as a whole, because without that sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein, we all know that religion would have died, because the rulers at that time were corrupt. They lived a life of tyranny and oppression. So it really needed that sacrifice. So that first Zyarah trip for me was a Zyarah of paying my salams, giving my salams, saying my thank you to the Imam, and paying my allegiance. That, when he gave that call of Hal min Nasir Yansurna, we are obeying that call and listening to that call by saying Labbaik Ya Hussein. Again, that resonates with the whole trip. We've come here, we're paying our salams. We're told that when you go to the Ziyarat of Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, he's known as Babul Hawa'id, so you can ask as much as your desires over there. Do not hesitate to ask, because whatever you ask is sure to be granted. And we're only so far halfway through our trip, so I'm looking forward to spending the rest of my time in Karbala and going back to Najaf, to the shrine of Imam al-Ali. And I don't think there's much more that I can add to that, apart from just reiterating the fact that it's a trip of a lifetime. I definitely recommend anyone and everyone to come along, no matter what your age is, no matter what your color is. We see people here that are not just Shia, we see people that are Sunnis coming, you see Christians coming, Hindus coming. They all, because Imam Hussein was a symbolic figure for the whole of humanity. You can't limit him to a specific race or religion. So I'd recommend anyone and everyone to come on this trip, for surely it will change your life when you go back to your country. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.